Welcome back to the British Accent Podcast. I'm Emily, and today we're diving into a topic that so many learners ask about: how to train your ears for different English accents. English isn't spoken in just one way, it comes in countless varieties: British, American, Australian, Canadian, Indian, and more. And the challenge is that each accent has its own rhythm, melody, and pronunciation.
That's right. Many learners get comfortable with one accent, maybe British English if that's what they're studying, or American English if that's what they watch in films. But then they meet someone from another region and suddenly feel lost. The good news is that your brain can be trained to adapt. It just takes exposure, patience, and the right strategies.
One of the first steps is to realize that there's no single correct English. Different accents are all valid, and the goal is not to understand every single word instantly, but to get comfortable with the sound patterns. For example, in British English you might hear water as water, while in American English it's water, and in Australian English you'll hear something closer to water. They are all the same word, just different sounds.
Exactly, and the key is training your ears to recognize the variations. If you only ever listen to one accent, your brain builds a narrow pathway. But when you mix in different accents, through TV shows, YouTube, podcasts, you start recognizing patterns. Over time, your brain becomes flexible, and you stop panicking when you hear a different sound.
A really effective technique is to pick a short clip in an accent you find challenging and listen repeatedly. At first, don't worry about understanding everything. Just notice the intonation, the rhythm, the stress. Then on the second or third listen, focus on specific words. By the fourth or fifth time, you'll be surprised at how much more you catch.
And remember, exposure doesn't have to be boring. If you love sports, watch an Australian sports commentary. If you enjoy comedy, watch British sitcoms. If you're into technology, listen to American or Indian tech podcasts. When the content interests you, your brain works harder but feels less tired.
Another thing to keep in mind is how accents handle vowel sounds. For example, Americans often pronounce the A in can't as a flat sound, while in British English it's a longer R. Australians stretch vowels even more, so day might sound almost like die. If you pay attention to these vowel shifts, you'll start anticipating how the same word can sound in different accents.
Right, and consonants also change. A classic example is the T sound. In American English, especially in casual speech, butter becomes butter. In British English, the T is often crisper, but too. And in some accents, like Irish or Scottish, you might even hear it with a completely different musical rhythm. Once you expect these changes, you don't get thrown off when you hear them.
A helpful trick is to do contrast listening. Take one word or phrase, like how are you, and listen to it in different accents. YouTube is perfect for this, because there are so many accent comparison videos. Play them back to back and notice what stays the same, the grammar, the meaning, and what changes, the sound. That way, your ears learn to map multiple pronunciations to the same meaning.
Yes, and it also helps to imitate the accent, even if you don't plan to speak that way. By trying to copy the sounds, you become more aware of how your mouth shapes words differently, and that makes your listening sharper. You don't need to be perfect, the goal is to train your ear by feeling the sounds yourself.
Another powerful method is to set accent days. For example, one week you listen only to American podcasts. The next week, switch to British. The week after, maybe Australian. Immersing yourself in one accent for a period gives your brain a chance to adapt, and then switching keeps you flexible.
And here's a mindset tip: don't get discouraged if you only understand half at first. Even native English speakers sometimes need time to adjust to a new accent. Think of it like tuning a radio: you don't hear clearly immediately, but with a bit of focus, the signal comes through.
Movies are one of the best ways to do this. For example, if you want to practice British accents, you could watch Sherlock or The Crown. For American accents, Sitcoms like Friends or Modern Family are great. And for Australian, you might check out shows like Neighbours. The key is to listen actively, notice the words you recognize, then notice how differently they are pronounced.
Interviews are another goldmine. On YouTube, you can find interviews with actors, athletes, or musicians from all over the world. Listen to someone from Ireland, then someone from South Africa, then maybe from Canada. It's fascinating, and it stretches your listening in ways you can't get from textbooks.
And don't underestimate real conversations. Even if you're not living in an English-speaking country, the internet gives you access to international voices. Join a global online community, maybe a language exchange app, or a hobby group, and you'll hear accents you've never encountered before. At first, it's overwhelming, but soon your brain starts recognizing familiar words underneath the different sounds.
One small but powerful exercise is what I call word spotting. Pick a few simple, common words, like because, really, or can't, and focus only on how those words sound in different accents. When you train yourself to hear just those, it's easier to build confidence before tackling full sentences.
That's such a practical idea. And you can also slow down videos with playback controls if it feels too fast. Listen slowly, then gradually return to normal speed. Your ears need that balance of clarity and challenge to grow stronger.
The main idea is to expose yourself regularly. It doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes a day or half an hour. The more voices you hear, the more natural it becomes.
Yes, podcasts are another brilliant tool. For example, if you want American English, you could listen to NPR or The Daily. For British English, BBC podcasts are fantastic. And there are so many independent podcasts from Australia, Ireland, and even Singapore, which can give you a real taste of those accents in natural conversation.
What's great about podcasts is that you can listen while doing other things, commuting, cooking, walking. And because they are usually long form, you get a lot of exposure to natural rhythm and flow. That constant background input slowly tunes your ears to the sounds.
Audiobooks are equally powerful. Let's say you read a book in English first, then listen to it being read aloud by a narrator with a different accent. Because you already know the story and vocabulary, your brain has fewer obstacles. It can focus purely on sound and pronunciation differences.
And here's a little hack: find the same audiobook read by 2 different narrators. For example, some classics have multiple recordings. Listen to a chapter in an American accent, then the same chapter in a British accent. Suddenly, you're training your ears to compare and adapt in real time.
News channels are also helpful. International news networks often have anchors from different countries. So in one program you might hear a British correspondent, an American anchor, and maybe an Australian reporter. That mix forces your ears to stay flexible.
Exactly. And remember, you don't need to understand every single word. The goal is recognition over perfection. If you catch the general meaning and start to notice familiar sounds across accents, you're on the right track.
Yes, let's move into that. Shadowing is already a powerful tool for fluency, but when you apply it across different accents, it becomes like a super workout for your listening skills. For example, you can take a short clip of a British actor, repeat it aloud immediately after them, then switch to an American clip and do the same.
The contrast is what really stretches your ear. It's like your brain is forced to shift gears quickly, and over time, those transitions become smoother. You stop panicking when you hear a new sound, because you've practiced that flexibility.
And recording yourself is key. When you try shadowing multiple accents, record and then play it back. Compare your version with the original. Even if it doesn't sound perfect, you'll start noticing where your tongue, mouth, or even rhythm patterns are different.
And here's the fun part: don't just shadow serious content like news broadcasts. Shadow comedy shows, TV dramas, or even YouTube videos. The variety of tones and emotions gives you a more natural feel for how English is spoken in real life.
That's so true. And sometimes, it's even better to exaggerate when you practice. If you go a little over the top while mimicking an accent, you'll actually remember the sound more easily. Later, you can tone it down for a more natural version.
Plus, you don't have to aim for perfect accent switching. The real win is training your ears so that you can understand different accents more easily. Whether or not you speak exactly like them, comprehension is the skill that will give you confidence in conversations.
Yes, let's definitely talk about that, because a lot of learners hit the same roadblocks. One common pitfall is trying to understand every single word when listening to a new accent. That usually leads to frustration. Instead, focus on catching the rhythm, the stress patterns, and the key words.
Exactly. Another big mistake is sticking to only one accent they feel comfortable with. For example, some learners only listen to American English because that's what they learned in school, so when they hear an Irish or Australian accent, they feel completely lost. It's like training only one muscle and ignoring the others.
And then there's the trap of listening passively. Just putting on a show or podcast in the background isn't enough. You need to actively engage with the sound, pause, repeat, mimic. That's where real improvement happens.
A lot of people also worry too much about sounding funny when they try to imitate an accent. But here's the secret: every learner sounds funny at first, and that's a good thing. That funny phase is where your brain is experimenting and learning to stretch.
Yes. And you don't need to chase perfection. Even native speakers sometimes struggle with accents from different regions. The goal isn't to understand everything immediately, but to build comfort and flexibility over time.
A practical way to overcome these pitfalls is to set micro goals. For example, instead of saying, "I'll understand all British accents," start with, "I'll train my ear to catch the common reductions in London English." Small, focused steps make the process less overwhelming.
Yes, let's do that. One fun exercise is shadowing clips from different accents. Pick a short video, a New York interview, a Scottish movie clip, maybe even an Australian news report. Play a sentence, pause, repeat it out loud exactly how you hear it. Focus on rhythm and stress, not just the words.
Another exercise is what I call accent switching. Spend 5 minutes listening to one accent, then immediately switch to another. For example, listen to a British podcast for 5 minutes, then switch to an American YouTuber. It forces your brain to adjust quickly, and over time, it makes you more adaptable.
And don't forget transcripts. If a podcast or video has subtitles, use them to check what you missed. First, listen without looking. Then, read along to see the difference. It really sharpens your listening skills.
In the end, training your ear for different accents isn't about memorizing endless sound patterns, it's about being flexible, curious, and patient with yourself.
Exactly. And remember, every time you expose yourself to a new accent, you're not just learning English, you're expanding your world.
Well said, Emily. That's a wrap for today's episode.
Thanks for joining us, and happy listening, everyone.